Hi everybody, welcome to week 12. We are moving right along. I hope you are starting to see some signs of spring in your neck of the woods. In Salt Lake City this weekend, it's actually, I think, going up to 60, so that will be nice. All right, so the objectives for this week focus on organizational effectiveness and organizational change, right? So, as you've discussed in other courses, change can be chaotic, change can be smooth and organized, or kind of anywhere in between, right? And many changes obviously both occur in academia and in the clinical setting. In academia, many programs are struggling to change their mindset about clinical and simulation as it's getting harder and harder to find clinical sites for all the students. Many are starting to look at the changes involved with the next generation NCLEX that's going to be coming out here before too long. In the clinical areas, there may be like new service lines, new equipment, or new providers to work with, and all of this is change, right? So just when we get used to something, someone's going to come along and change it before too long. So we know that change is inevitable. So our discussion question this week looks at the need for change at your practicum site, right? So you need to identify one area of needed change at your practicum site. This is just something that you think needs to be changed. They don't need to agree with you. It's no problem that way. And it can be pretty much anything. It just has to have something to do with nursing, something that would impact nursing, something nursing would be involved in, something like that, okay? And the discussion question then asks what processes you would use to bring about the change, okay? This can be based on a change model, a change theory, whatever you want to do, and who would be involved. So try to provide some details that would really allow us to get a feel for the problem and how you're proposing to address it. Doesn't have to be anything lengthy, still a discussion question, not a paper, so no worries. So this year, where I work in a school district with many children with disabilities and chronic disease and things like that, we had a change, right? And it's a very large school district, just enormous number of employees and students. So previously, all the nurses in the district worked with one team leader, and we all reported up through student services was the department. This allowed for a cohesive team, sharing of resources, consistent expectations, that sort of thing. It worked pretty well from our perspective. So partway through fall semester, the decision was made by the district to move the special education nurses under the special education director, and the regular education nurses, those serving regular education students, would stay in student services but would have a new director. Okay, nurses didn't have any input into the decision or how the change would occur. The team leader remained functionally over the regular ed nurses and reported to that student service director. And the special ed services could use the team leader, I guess, as a resource, but she didn't have anything to do with the special ed part of the organization. So it was a little bit different. The special ed nurses then reported directly to the special education director, and she had many direct reports, and the plan was basically she would meet with the nurses maybe quarterly. How's it going? Do you need anything from me? Call me if it's an emergency type thing. And then some policies between student services and special ed started to change between the two groups as far as how policies were interpreted or creation of new policies. So there was a little bit kind of different different there between the two groups. Now, the two groups still meet together monthly, probably like twice a month as a group for nursing meeting, but there's not quite that same sense of cohesion amongst the groups. It didn't appear that any particular change process or change model was used in this case, and from the nurse perspective, the change was viewed as chaotic. But when the folks at the district level had decided on this change occurring, they had some real good rationale for it, but they anticipated a quick and easy change really without consequence. They thought it would just be a little change to the org chart and not any issues. But by not getting input from the frontline personnel, a real opportunity for an organized and successful change was missed, and instead anxiety and confusion was created. So sometimes if the person planning the change is not close to the action, they're too far removed to really see the true impact of a change. And so if they're not using a change model, a change process, those steps where they could get information, get input, get buy-in, get ideas, that opportunity is missed. So, and I'm sure you guys could tell us, could share with us many opportunities for change that either went awry or that was done well and went smoothly, right? So basically change should not be planned out in isolation, in a silo, with very little input. That's probably the worst thing we can do unless it's an emergency and something just has to happen quickly. It's almost always better to have a model or a plan and to invest the time in that to make the change go smoothly. The bigger the change, the more planning should be occurring, right? Okay, and then obviously with change, transparency should be the goal. Why are we making this change? What can we expect? How is this going to improve outcomes? Whatever the change may be, transparency should be the goal. So, all right. So now you're going to turn your lens to your practicum site and come up with an area that could be where some change could be needed. Put it that way. It can be little change, big change, whatever you want to focus on. But what's something that you think could benefit from being changed, and how would you go about doing that? So that's what we'll be discussing this week. As far as assignments this week, you only have the NEPD form due, so no additional paper. Woohoo! I do want to just remind you again, though, that you do have that portfolio assignment due in week 15, and so I would just really encourage you to look at week 15, make sure you're looking at all the components of that assignment and what's going to go into it. And definitely start looking at getting those letters of reference. We're now in week 12, it's due in week 15. It might take a while to get those from some individuals that are really busy. So that's my heads up for this week, and I think that's about it. Looking forward to some really good discussion about change this week, and I'm looking forward to seeing your papers from last week. I think that's about it. I'll see you in the main forum.